everyone, Bruna here, and today we're gonna see how I made this painting. You're gonna see the full process and I will explain exactly what I thought while I was making it. Let's go. So when I started the painting, I started with a quick sketch, and at first I didn't really know what I wanted to draw, so I started with a drawing of the character in a pose, and then I changed my mind and decided to make a portrait focused entirely on his face. So I started drawing his head, and it was pretty asymmetrical, so I flipped it horizontally to make sure that it would be more symmetrical. You can see that I use a lot of transform tools, which is scaling and modifying it to make sure that I have the composition I want. I want the character to be larger on the image, so I scaled it. And now I have the symmetry ruler on because I realized I actually preferred if he were symmetrical. So it's the symmetry ruler from Clip Studio Paint, and then I turn it off when I'm drawing his hair to make sure that it's gonna be asymmetrical like I want it to be. Now I added a flat color to the character, and it's a mask just to set his boundaries. And then I create a new layer where I will place the flat colors, one layer for each, just to make my life easier. I'm using the lasso fill to add the flat colors because I just find it much easier to use than a regular brush. And then now that I have all the flat colors, I merge them into one layer called flats, set it to reference, and then I can create a multiply layer for the shadows and also a blush layer because I love adding blush to the characters. Now it's time I decide the light. Where's the light coming from? I'm gonna try a couple of different things here, you're gonna see. At first, I wanted to have like a rim light on his ears and jaw, but then I changed it later. Sometimes when I want to make changes to the multiply layer, I will turn it back into normal so I can select the exact color that is on it. And then when I have selected the correct color, I can turn it back into multiply and see how it looks. Now I created a new layer for more shading. It's more like some occlusion shadow. Although he's mainly in shadow, there are still some areas that will be lighter and others that will be darker. At some point, I decided to use a 3D model to plan out the lighting. So you can see that I have it on the subview palette here, where I can use it as reference, and then I can paint the character according to the reference. Now that I have the basics of light and shadow on the image, I can properly paint it. So I'm using a kind of soft brush, but it's not an airbrush, but it's not 100% hard either. It's like a mixture, kind of soft, which is the type of brush that I like to use for realism and semi-realism. And I'm also using a blender. It's a textured blender, just to add more interest to it and to make it more realistic. For his hair, I'm using a super flat brush, like a chiseled brush, because I like the effect it creates, like those bands of hair. And then I can zoom in. I really have the basics down now, so I merged all layers. Well, first I duplicated them, and then grouped them, and then I could merge them, so I have the backup saved. And now I can zoom in and paint with more care and more attention to details. I like leaving the color wheel next to me, so it's easier to pick colors instead of having it like on the far right side, where I have to move my hand a lot. I place it closer to where I'm painting, so it's easier to pick colors. I take my time adding detail to the hair, but also notice that it's very clear what is light and what is shadow. I really don't want to lose this form here. And it's very easy to make this mistake of starting to render and then you don't know what is light and what is shadow anymore. If you look on the right side on the layer palette, again, I duplicated and merged and copied, and I have a backup and I have all the new layers merged. Because I like working on merged layers because it's so much easier to make any edits. But I also like to keep the backup in case I need to go back and make any changes. Now for the highlight, I choose a very small and very thin brush in a very bright color to add the hair highlight. I thought about adding some glow to his eye, and then I noticed it wasn't really fitting because his nose was so bright and it was competing. Like the nose was too bright and the eye was too bright, so I had to balance this. I added some glow to the back of the character just to show that there is such a strong light coming from behind, and the glow helps make it show this light and also make it a little bit more magical. At some point I decided to just erase the light from his nose because I wanted the glow to be on his eyes. I really wanted the viewer to look at this painting and look straight at his eyes. So the high contrast on the nose was not helping with that, and that's why I removed it. Now the finishing touches, adding some smoke coming out of his mouth. It's just a flat brush and lower opacity and then blending in some areas. Then I can use the tone curve to make the correct contrast on the image. I liquefied a little bit of the smoke to see if I could make a better shape. Added highlight to his eye. Just some details to really make the final touches of the image. And that's it. That's how I made this image. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe so you can see the next video I'll make. Bye bye!